See, the thing is, this board is the first board, probably in the nation, a water board that has approved this. And apart from the board of supervisors, the only board of supervisors probably in the nation that have done this. So it's kind of history in the making. So it's new for me, and sometimes I'm presumptuous about doing things because it's new for me too. I didn't know that the board had to get approval, and now I know. So we won't pursue this until everything's settled. And see, the people that we represent are anxious. Of course, they're anxious, but at the same time, there's procedures to be followed. And the ID has the right, and so does the board of supervisors, to see this. But with your question again, Mr. Hanks?
If there's going to be emblems on it, most definitely the board should.
Yeah. Well, usually the other, like say Lancaster, the other cities have their city logo underneath. So I will reiterate to my constituents that this has to be done right, and excuse us for jumping the gun, and me, because I'm the one kind of headstorming this type of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
Thank you. Item number 3, review of AB 3 regarding renewable energy workforce readiness program. Yeah, Kevin has this.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, you have the text of AB 3, which is authored by Assemblyman Manuel Perez. This is an informational item today. Our intention would be to come back to you with a prepared resolution at your next meeting, the next regular meeting, for you to take action in support. Our recommendation would be to support the.
Mr. Kelly, has Jack Walpole looked at this bill? Has he analyzed it, and his recommendation is to support it?
You'll recall, Director Mendoza, we spoke with the Assemblyman about his bill, and the purpose of including it as an attachment in the agenda was for the board to review it as well. Dr. Brady's read it, as have I, as has Mr. Walco. He fully expects the board and would recommend that the board support.
So the recommendation is to approve it?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, we'll ask that this item come forward at the next meeting. Update on the Lower Colorado River Multi-Species Conservation Program. Mr. Remington. Mr. Remington.
Good evening, board members, management, staff, and general public. I'm Mike Remington, Supervisor for Environmental Regulatory and Emergency Planning. I'm bringing this update to you because it's been 3 years since we first initiated the Lower Colorado River MSCP, which I'll call the MSCP, and because a board member was approached by the general public, specifically, I guess, bass anglers and some other fishermen on the river that are concerned about some planned backwater restoration and potential use of a chemical for ridding those of exotic fish. So I want to give this update where we are and maybe answer some of those questions that the board member was, some of those questions that was addressed to the board member. So, start off. Just to refresh your memory, this MSCP goes from Lake Mead, essentially Lee's Ferry, all the way down to the historic floodplain at the southern international boundary. Historic is possibly beyond a 100-year flood event, but this is the planning area. The reason and the goals for this is to avoid confrontation and litigation on Endangered Species Act, both for the federal and the state, conserve habitat toward recovery of listed species, attempt to reduce likelihood of additional species listing, and to accommodate current water diversions and power production and optimize opportunities for future water and power resource development. That bottom one is a key one. It was hard to get the environmental and resource agencies to agree that this is going to, whatever we do to conserve these species, we want to have the opportunity to maintain our water and power use on the river and even provide opportunities to increase that. Some other goals: provide a 50-year coordinated comprehensive species conservation habitat management prescription. It gives us incidental take authorization under the Federal and California Endangered Species Act for any take of those endangered species, and provide ESA Endangered Species Act compliance for 26 covered species and 4 evaluation species. Besides those, within those, there's 6 listed species as threatened or endangered. And it varies from everywhere from aquatic, wetland, and riparian habitat. In the back over here, if the public wants to look at it later, is a display showing some of the species in the habitat. It just doesn't have the 4 endangered fish species on display. Here's the status right now. We've been in this 3 years, and as you can see, if you look in the third column, acres to be restored, and the last one, acres restored so far within the first 3 years, we're committed to restore 5,940 acres of cottonwood willow, which predominantly now is mostly salt cedar along the river, and we've already restored 450 acres. Mesquite, 1,320, we've restored 12 acres. Marsh, I haven't been able to calculate exactly because that includes some of the backwaters and some other things. Backwaters, we are committed to restore 360 acres, and we've already restored 80. So out of the 8,132 acres of habitat, we've already accomplished 542. This is a photo showing typically along there's salt cedar right there. What we want is to restore to a lot of this cottonwood and willow habitat for endangered species, specifically for the southwestern willow flycatcher. This is an example of a backwater. Usually these go, there's the channel of the river. On this one I'm not sure, maybe over here. And you've got some plants in here, and this backwater is essentially sometimes isolated, but sometimes there is a connection to the river. And this is to be restored so that we can grow the native fish in here without predators. Part of this is native fish stocking, and for razorback sucker and bony-tailed. We're required to stock over the 50 years 660,000 fish for the razorback sucker. We've stocked so far 67,193. Bony-tail, 620,000 for 50 years. We've already stocked 23,973, so a total of 91,000 fish already. And here's a picture of those beautiful fish, probably only in the eyes of biologists, but these are the fish that we're mainly on the lower river concerned with.
Michael, how big do those fish get when they're full grown?
The razorback sucker may not be as big as the bony-tail, but some of these fish, like the pike minnow, can get up to, maybe up to 100 pounds, and can get up to maybe 10, I'm not sure how the lengths are, but they used to be just massive fish. The problem is these fish now, since the dams are put in, they haven't been reproducing, so the old stock has diminished, and we've only been stocking, I think, up to 12-inch fish in there, and you may be getting maybe 20-inch fish now that you can recover. How this MSCP is governed is Reclamation provides the staff and management for the annual implementation. There is a committee, steering committee, and I am IID's voting representative on that. Dee Bradshaw, who helped out on a lot of the almost 10 years work of developing this program, is my alternate if I can't make it. And there is a dispute resolution appeal process in this whole thing, which when you have 35 steering committee members and different issues, you could run into a problem. Now, the cost of the program. Total cost for 50 years based on $1993 is $620 million. It's going to be split 50-50 federal, and it presently is federal and non-federal cost share. On the non-federal side is split between, on the lower basin, California, Arizona, and Nevada. 50% California, 25 Arizona, and 25 Nevada. The total cost here.
Mr. Remington?
Yeah.
Mr. Rotel, has the federal committed their portion, their monies for this project? Have they committed them?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing.